Okay. So basically, today what we're going to discuss is like I hope every you guys um, able to download whatever we discussed and able to give me 1 second. What happened? I don't know. Okay, so I believe like you guys able to download all these uh, requested softwares and tools that required for our day-to-day development and for advanced Java. Like for now, you don't. I mean, just even if you don't download as of today, these Tomcat, Maven, Postgres, GitHub, AWS. Yeah, you guys still have time to download and play around before we start. But you guys must download Java. So that is one thing, like very prerequisite for us. Um, um, so so my plan today is like discuss about the Java and object oriented programming concepts and the language that the Java language that provides what and all the basic definitions, basic language characteristics. We will go through each and everything as much possible as we can, and then we'll write a couple of programs today, and understand while writing program, and we'll discuss as and when you guys have any doubts, you can stop me. um, then by end of the day I'll give you some assignments, so go ahead and put some efforts, try to do those programs, so that helps you guys to um, get practice, like in the beginning. The more you practice in the beginning, the when we go deeper, like I'm not going to explain each and every line what we are doing. So if you do more practice here, then you can easily catch up whatever we discuss in the advanced topics. Okay, so first thing, um, what exactly Java is, right? The first thing comes into is like we know Java, it's a Java language. Why it is so popular is like because of a couple of reasons, like because it adapts object oriented programming concepts. We'll discuss what exactly object oriented programming is. A second thing is second thing and important thing is Java is platform independent. Okay, with this Java being platform independent, that is operating system independent, it emerged as a leader in the technology world and web application development world. So one is it adapts object oriented programming language, and another one is Java is a platform independent. Okay, that which is nothing but operating system independent. Okay, so uh, in that, what is platform independent? What do you mean by operating system independent, right? So basically it's simple. If I write a program in my Mac computer, like Mac operating system, I can able to run the program in by send I can able to run that program into Windows operating system or Linux operating system. So which means write once, run anywhere. So platform independent is write once, run anywhere, which means like how you may got doubt like how can you wrote a program on your system, um, and how can I execute, right? So there are two parts. Any programming language, there will be basically two parts will be there. One is whatever you wrote, whatever the language you took like C or C++, Java. First thing whatever you wrote is like we call it as a source code, right? You wrote like a plus b logic or multiplication logic. It comes considered as a source code. So first thing what happens, it converts when you by using whatever the language that you started using. When you execute using that language, when you compile that language, it will end up with some operating system understandable. It will convert into some operating system understandable executable file, right? So mm, which means in C, when you wrote any program, when you compile it, it directly converts into operating system compatible machine code. The moment you compile it in C language or C++ language, what happens is it will immediately converts operating system and a machine understandable byte codes. It will immediately convert. So my Mac computer has its own definitions. If I try to run that C program in Windows, what happens is Windows operating system has been defined by its own rules. It doesn't understand this byte code. But the best part in Java is whenever you compile your Java class, Java program that you wrote, first thing what happens is it converts that source code into a byte code. I'll show you what is byte code. Then that byte code is understandable by Java, understandable by Java, but it doesn't need to be compatible with your operating system. So if let's say I wrote a simple Java program, so when I compile it, it will generate a dot class file. Okay, when it generates a dot class file, I can share that dot class file to you, and if you run the Java dot class file, you can able to run, you can able to execute in your Windows operating system, even though I wrote my source code from Mac operating system. So that is what called platform independent. Okay, so so another part is but how come it able to compile a different operating systems, different platforms is with the help of JVM. So what is JVM, right? First, next thing your comes into your mind is JVM. What is JVM? JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine. Java Virtual Machine. So whatever you downloaded among these section, right? So if you look at, they haven't provided a single downloadable uh, executable file. They provided platform dependent executables. So for this one belongs to Windows 64-bit operating system. If you go here, if this belongs to Solaris, right? This if you download, if you want to run Java programs, if you want to execute Java programs, you need to download this particular tar file to run your programs in Solaris. So if you observe, there is small confusion you may be getting. So I just told you guys Java is a platform independent. Then why they have different executables available according to the operating system. The reason is this is not Java. This is a JVM, Java Virtual Machine, which contains JRE and JDK. So what do you mean by JDK and JRE? Next thing, right? Your next thing comes into your mind is what is JDK and what is JRE. So JDK is nothing but, I told you, right? There are two steps. Converting from .java file to .class file, we use JDK, and to run the .class file, to execute the .class file, we need JRE. JDK is nothing but Java Development Kit. JRE is nothing but Java Runtime Executable. JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine. Okay. So another few terminologies we need to understand is basically what happens when you downloaded this file, this executable file corresponding to the platform. This one will take care of your Java, whatever the Java, wherever you wrote, like whether you wrote in different Mac system, Windows system, Linux system. This executable will be the responsible to understand. You are not your operating system. This executable is responsible to understand the .class file, and then when you run it, it will convert that .class file into machine understandable. Like, if you are running on Mac system, it will convert your .class file into Mac understandable bytecode. If you run in Windows, it will convert Windows understandable bytecode. Okay, so that is the reason. Let's go back. So when we say Java is platform independent, but JVM is platform dependent. So in simple terms, we can say Java is platform independent, but JVM is platform dependent. And we can draw one more point with these two. Java is JVM dependent. Okay, so Java is platform operating system independent, but Java is JVM dependent, Java Virtual Machine dependent. So if you're running on Mac system, you need to download corresponding Mac related executable file, right? But JVM is platform independent dependent because it has its own it has the capability to generate operating system specific bytecode. Okay, so this is the important point you guys need to understand. So next thing is um, any language when you want to learn, right? There are certain set of rules, certain set of definitions. They will say, okay, in our day-to-day language also, right? That we speak. If you want to communicate someone in your native language in Telugu, let's say, only Telugu people can understand because they all learned the basics. Like, you need to learn whatever the alphabets and corresponding important words. Then you started framing statements. Then there is synonyms, antonyms. So if you learn more, the more you learn about the language definitions, the more you get control on the language. Same thing here as well. Java has defined set of language rules, and we need to understand before writing our program. Okay, so what are those language definitions? Is one is character set, another one is sorry, one is character set, another one is keywords, identifiers, data types, variables, constants, literals, operators, control statements, arrays. So these are different ones that has been there around. Okay, so what and all these things, right? Simple way I can explain. So character set is something, um, like what and all the characters allowed in your language, in this Java language. In Java, character set is nothing but it allowed all the digits that you have, whatever the digits, like 1 to 9 digits it allowed, and alphabets A to Z, all capital and small letters, and it allows certain special symbols like underscore or dollar, like remaining all you know symbols that has been there in your keyboard, right? All kind of 99% of the special characters has been allowed in Java. Okay, so how to use special characters, what is the use of special characters, we will see going forward. Okay. Then the next one is keywords. So these are all the keywords, right? These are very important. These are all Java controlled. Like you can't use just like that. These keywords you can't use just like that in Java programming. When you are using these keywords, they have its own definitions, very specific definitions. Okay. So as such, we have close to 49 keywords we have in Java. Okay. So among those I mentioned over here, like public, protected, private, interface. Whenever you write this line, these keyword, these words in your Java programming, don't worry. I mean, it's not definitely not a rocket science, so you need not to worry about what exactly happening, how exactly when why I supposed to use, when I supposed to use public, when I supposed to use private. You don't need to worry about all the stuff, because when we type programming, we keep discussing all those stuff. So I just want to give you the basic overview over here. What are the language definitions are there? So public, protected, private, interface, class, abstract, implements, extend, int, byte, short, long, float, double, char, boolean, new, import, package, try, catch, finally, final, throw, throws, if, else, switch, case, for, do, while, continue, static, void, transient, synchronized, instance, break, return, volatile, this, default, final, super, go to, constant. These are all the keywords, reserved keywords, like you can't use just like that. Then identifiers. When you apply these identifiers, when you it's simply, we can say, like identifier is a name which we can use for classes. When you write a class, right, what is the name of the class, right? Generally that common sense, right? Like what is your name? So that when you are writing a class, when you are writing defining a name, whatever when you are writing an interfaces, variables, methods, whatever the name that you are giving into that variable, whatever the name that you are giving to that class, whatever the name that you are giving to interfaces, all called as identifiers. These are all not reserved words, the words that you are going to use. So what are all the rules around when are you when you are using these? You can use any letters and any characters, but the first character must be start with a letter or underscore or dollar. You can't start a class name with number. You can't start a variable name with number. You should start with a letter, underscore or dollar. Okay. Mm, Next thing is so which means it's simple, right? When I'm writing class name, so if I write mm, addition, if I write like this class, where is that? If I write class ABC, it's correct. But when I try to write class 1 to 3, it is wrong. If I write ABC, 1 ABC, wrong. Because only if I write underscore ABC, it allows. Okay. So only like it should start with underscore, dollar, and first character. And then data types. What and all the data types that we have? The different data types that we have is byte, short, int, long, float, double, char, boolean. So what is the size, right? uh, Size, like how many bytes. When you write any program, when you run the program, what happens is, when you write any program, when you save it, right, what happens, it will store in your hard disk. But when you try to run that, whatever the executable dot class file will be loaded into your RAM. When it loaded into RAM has been defined, like when you say 8 GB, right, what does it mean? 8 gigabytes, right? So RAM has been represented through bytes. So in that RAM, how many bytes it's going to occupy when you define, like, when you write int a in your Java program, how many bytes this a variable is going to take, how many bytes this a variable is going to take, right, is defined on the data type. This is the data type. Depends on the data type. So when I write int a, or else when I write float, it's not capital letter, it's just typing there, I'll show you later. Float b. So how many characters a occupies, how many bytes a required is 4 bytes. Okay, how many bytes float required? 4 bytes. But if I write double here, how many bytes it required? 8 bytes. You getting my point? So bytes are nothing but ones and zeros. Okay, these are the default values that we provide. I'll explain you. Don't worry. I mean, it's one writing a single program will answer all these things. Okay. And then variables. Um, um, Variables are like, or the variables are an identifiers, we can say, which used to store some value. So like I mentioned here, let me go to program rather. Typing there is like really challenging. So int a equal to 10, right? So let me not confuse you, simple, right? Equal to 10, right? So this is called data type, this is called variable, this is called variable, this is called initialization. So you are giving value 10 to your variable a. A is of what type? What data type? It's an int. How many bytes it will take? It will take 4 bytes. Okay, that's what it means actually. So this is called variable. Okay. And if you look at here, like I mentioned, we have certain reserved words, public, class. So these two are reserved words. Public, class is reserved words. This is the, what is this? This is identifiers. This is odd number evaluation. This is the class name we gave it to. This is the class name that we provided for this class. Odd numbers evaluation is the class name that we provided for this class. A is the variable of type int with value 10. Okay. So yeah, if I write this class here, right, it will show an error. If I write something like this, it will show an error saying that identifier expected. Okay, some errors it will show. You can't use it just like that. When you are using keywords, you need to be very careful. You need to understand what is the purpose of it. Okay. Next thing is literals. So what and all the different literals we have? Integer literals. In integer literals we have different types like decimal integer literals, octal integer literals, hexadecimal integer literals. What does it mean? So when you write like this, it is called, we always basically default represent with decimal literals. Okay, when we always represent our any of day to day whatever we do, right, we represent as a decimal literals. But if you want to define octal integer literals, right, you need to do int x equal to 0 1 2 3. If you use 8, it will give an error because 8 is not allowed in octal integer literals. Octal is 8 up to 8 up to 8 in the sense 0 to 7. 0 1 2 3 4 5 7 is, if you write anything within that digits, then it will represent as octal integer literals. If you represent 0 to 9, then it will called as decimal integer literals. If you represent something with up to 16 with 0 to 9 plus A, B, C, D, E, F, then it is called as hexadecimal literals. So how do we represent is, if you write something like this, this is when you start with 0 and you started writing this, then it is called as octal decimal literal. Okay, if you want to represent hexadecimal integer literal, then y equal to, how do we represent, 0 x 1 2 3 e. Okay, this is how it represents. Okay, so this is the way to represent a particular value in hexadecimal. This is the value to represent in octal decimal into octal decimal integer literal, and this is our day-to-day decimal, just decimal integer literals. Okay, what else we have? Floating literals. How do we represent decimal notations, exponential notations? I'll show you in program. Character literals is, if you want to represent a particular character literals, you need to represent in a single character, like char c equal to a. You can write anything here. Character literal. I'll tell you why I use capital letter there. This is the keyword char. When you represent char, it is of data type char. Okay. How many size byte is 2? So how do we represent? If you represent something in a single quotes and single letter inside, okay, then only it will considered as character literal. Okay. If you write something like that, you will see error. I will show you. I'll explain that why you seeing error symbol there. Next thing is, what and all the operations you can do. What and all the at the end of the day, any language you are doing is that's just to do some arithmetic and business logics to execute, right? So what and all the operators that has been allowed in Java is basically arithmetic operations. Like arithmetic operations are, as you guys know, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Another one is relational operators. What is relational? This is percentage. Okay. So what is relational operators? Relational operators are to represent what kind of relation, like equal to, let's say double equals to is relational operator. Okay, and not equals to is, if you want to say not equal to, no, this is the operator you need to mention. This is the equal to operator, I mean relational operator to establish the relation. Okay, these are the assignment operations. If you want to assign certain value to something, then you need to use assign operators. Okay, logical operators is, as you guys know, I believe you guys know, like the logical operators is like, if, like, if if true and true, then it becomes true. If true and false, it becomes false. So these logical and operations are nothing but this way you can represent and operator. Okay, so next one is unary operator. Just like, make how can I explain is, this one also I'll show you in program. And ternary operator is three level operator. Like, if A equals to B, do this, else do this kind of operator in a single operation. Okay, so if and else condition can be executed in a single operation is nothing but ternary operator. Okay, bitwise operators. Bitwise operators, you never gonna use in any of your day-to-day programs, but it's good to know, like bitwise operators are like, you always represent in data in bits, like zeros and ones, and if you apply any operations on them, then the results will be, if you apply these operators on them, the results will vary accordingly. Okay, then these are all the important control statements. These are the statements that are very important, and you are going to write in your day-to-day program everywhere, somewhere in your program. Okay, so what are those? Is like if, else, switch, while, do while, for, break, continue. These are all the keywords that we use on your day-to-day program. So if is nothing but, if any condition is true, go and execute. If any condition is true, go and execute, else go into this condition. Switch is a combination of, based on the condition that has been allowed in the switch, will be picked by corresponding case item. Okay, I will show you in program. While and do while will differentiate with the program. For loop is in order to repeat anything that you want to repeat for each. If you, let's say you want to display 100 numbers, so you don't need to write, you need to display 1 2 3 4. You can write a program in a smart way such that writing a single line of code, you can write display 100 numbers, that is using for loop. For you can loop, in order to loop it you need for. So in order to break, you need to, in order to break that for loop for particular reason, you need to use break. If you want to continue for some particular reason, use the continue buttons. I'll show you all these literals now. Let's go back and write a simple program. Okay, so let me close this guy and open again freshly so that you guys can understand quickly. So let me open a new program, new project. Like just simply picking Java project. So I'll just let me see, go on empty project. Go Java. Choose the location. All we are doing is we're just selecting a new project and going to create. Where did it come? Java. Let's do this. Yeah. So we are seeing here. So first we are going to create a simple Java class. Okay. So when you're writing a simple class Java class name always need to start with capital letter. Remember that rule. Class name always need to start with capital letter. Okay. So let's say I'll first Java program. Okay. It's a class, right? We're writing a class. We are not writing an interface. So we'll discuss about interface. Let's not worry about it. So anything you wrote is a class. Okay. Java class. So when you write it, it auto generates like this ID. That's the advantage of IDs. You don't need to like write anything. So public class first program, Java program. So if you observe, the class name and the class that you're writing inside should be the same all the time. Public, whatever the class that you are going to define as a public, that is the name that you're going to give it to the your class. Okay. So in that, always any Java programs until like we've finished the core Java, always you need to start with public static void main string args. What happened to this? This is doesn't understand. Give me 1 second. I'm just opening it. It looks like IntelliJ doesn't understand what we tried. So let me open it in new project. Actually, I'm trying with my Windows so that you guys can easily understand with Eclipse, but some reason I couldn't able to connect from there. So let me try today with this and then to Java. So don't worry about all this, like how the structure has been defined here, batch, ID, SRC, external libraries. As and when we go through the programs, we can understand easily. So I just named it as core Java, or else let's call it as first Java program. It is not picking up the refactor to the request. So any Java program that you write, right? Whenever any Java programs in the going forward you wrote, like this is the important line that needs to be written in order to execute. Okay, so what does this mean is, how in order to understand your program, so you downloaded your job your JVM, and you wrote some program. What is the connection, how the connection happens between your JVM and your Java program? The connection triggers here. This, when you run this program, when you say run this program, what exactly happens is it compiles. It's already ready with the .class file, so it looks for JVM, looks for this main method. This way you write, when you write something like this is called a method, but I'll explain you later. But this is important line in order to execute any program. Okay, so the first Java program, let's say hello world. How to display is system dot sys dot out dot print ln. Okay, hello world. So let me run, and we can discuss few more points. Okay, run first main Java. Okay. It says I required Java 1 by 1.8. What it is having 1.8. Okay, I think I need to change here. Let me go back to change it to 7. I have 1.8, 1.7 as well. So I'm just changing it to 1.7. And 1.7 compatible. 1.7 for Modis module. If we go and check here, you can see 1.7. Okay. So if I run this program, you can see hello world has been displayed here. Whatever I wrote here, hello world 123, and go ahead and run this program. Hello world 123 program. So this is our first program that we wrote in Java, right? So let's understand what and all happened, right? So first rule is, when you are writing your first Java program, the class name, whatever the name that you are giving, should be start with capital letter. Okay, and each word has been start with capital letter. Okay, first letter also starts with capital letter. In your class name, if it is a combination of multiple words, then Each word has to start with capital letter. Okay, that's a norm. It doesn't break. Even if I keep Java, it will work. Okay, but it doesn't break. But only thing is you need to follow certain norms. Okay, so these mistakes you guys do a lot when you joined as when you join in the company. Instead of starting with capital letters, you start with, so that the day itself it's clarified that you don't have much experience in Java. Okay, so and then next thing is this, like I mentioned, this is the and class always starts with a keyword. When you want to write a class, it starts with the keyword class. Okay, and the program wherever you want to execute, that class should be a public class. What is public and all these things we'll explain. Okay, public class, it should be exposed everywhere. Okay, so public class. And this method is the connection between your Java program and JVM. Okay, this is how when you first write this program, right, in this IDE automatically converts into dot class file. See, this is, you don't see .java, but when you write this program, right, if you go to the hard disk and see that program, how it sounds. So if you like, first Java program .java, right, this is how we saved, and the output is first Java program .class. So when you compile your Java class, first Java program .java, it will converts into .class. So .java file has been converted into .class file. Okay. When you try to run, right? When you try to run, then your JVM will try to see your, where is the main class, where is the main class. Okay, this is my execution starting point. Okay, whatever you wrote, it will continuously execute up to where, up to end of that method. So whatever you do, it will execute and come out. So in simple way, let me show you on terminal, command prompt or something, wherever you have set it up. So where are we? Okay, I need to go the folder location, right? Development. 7 and SLTR. SRC, I need to go inside SRC, right? SRC ls minus LTR. So this is the program that is there, first Java program. How can I convert this first Java program into compiled version? I need to use the command. If you are typing here Java first Java program .java. Okay, sorry, I need to use Java compiler first program .java. It's done. What exactly happened is, in this location we have only first Java program .java, right? So if I go now, you can see two, one first program .java, first Java C program .class. So if I remove mine again, I'll show you. So I removed. What else we have? What we have here? First Java program. So when I write java.c, and then if you go and see what are there in the folder, .class file has been generated. So this command understand this Java class and it converted into Java bytecode. Okay, compiler Java understandable code, and then when you want to run you need to run this Java class file. So Java first Java program dot class file. When you run this, it's not able to identify. I may need to set the class path. Basically, if you run this, whatever the output that you got here will be displayed there. Okay. So
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Uh, I have a question like, what does that string args mean? Do we have to write that in every program? Like, why?
I'll explain why. This is something which will take as an input when you are, see now what exactly happened when we display whatever you have inside your program has been displayed here, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's say you want to provide an input to your program. If you want to provide an input to
Okay,
your Java program, okay, there is no input currently, but you have to provide in order to take those inputs from your command prompt or from your terminal.
okay.
Those values has been accessed through these args.
Arguments. Okay.
Okay.
So will the program run if we remove that?
No, that's the reason. Like I said, if you remove this one, right, what it will happen is when you try to run program, let me show you what happens.
Yeah.
You don't see that run button as well because it doesn't understand there is a program that needs to run.
Okay.
You got my point?
Okay. Yeah.
This see, if I write like this, right, public static void main. Okay, if I write something here, outside, let me run again this program. Okay,
Yeah.
so you got hello world 123, but it didn't discard, it didn't pick this one. Why? Because it doesn't care. JVM doesn't care about what you wrote in your program. JVM cares what you mentioned in your here in this block. How come it identifies? It looks for a method called with main. A method called with main. Okay, it always be the variable name should always should be the main. Okay, and its return type should be void. I'll explain void and why, what is the return type when you write a method. And
Okay.
you should have a keyword called static, and that method always has to be a public. So it looks for literally this line. And there is a argument string of arguments we are passing, so it literally looks for this line, and then it start executing from here to end of this. So how can I access this program, this method, right? Simply right here,
Main.
if you call main, that's it. You will get the results. You will see both the results, right? Sorry. Hello world 123.
Yeah.
What exactly happened? It executed this one and then it saw this main also within this block and it started calling that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, that is the importance of writing this line. So at this moment you don't need to understand fully about this line. I'll definitely go into that. But for now we know to start this program, start writing programs, because there is a here and there jumpings, the discussion will be jumping here and there, because until we go to some extent you don't understand each and every piece that we do, because certain basic things and certain JVM understandable things are deeper, which we need to start in the beginning, but we will understand in the middle of the discussion. Okay, so what does, again, what is this line is, in order to display anything in your terminal, you need to use system.out.println, and whatever you wrote inside will be displayed as is. Okay, display different values as well, but it displays as is. So And what and all we discussed, we talked about so public is what? Keyword. Class is what? Keyword. Void is what? Keyword. Okay. First Java program, what is this? A variable given to this class. A variable name given to this class. Main. What is this? A variable given to this method. Okay. And always class starts with braces and corresponding brace need to be ended. Okay. Same thing for method as well. Brace need to be start, brace need to be end. And each and every statement in Java, should end with semicolon. Should end with semicolon. And few things we need to know is, let's say, we discussed about data types, right? What and all data types? Int, float, double, char, boolean. What else is there? Byte, short, right? These are all the data types. So how can we use them? When I say int a equal to 10, int a. So when I say like this, right? And I want to display that. Let me try to display that guy. Okay. Will you understand? System dot out dot print ln. For time being, just don't worry. Don't worry about this keyword. I'll explain later. Static int a. So let me run this program, right? So run this program. So what it displayed first? 0. Yeah, so what it displayed, a value is 0, but we haven't provided the value for a, right? How come it got displayed as 0? Because the default values, if you don't assign any value to those particular things, the default value will be assigned to these things. Let me try to show you another way. If I say the data type of a is double, 0.0, because that is the default value for double. You got my point? So if you don't assign any value to the variable of any particular data type, then that default values will be picked. Okay. So let me try to int a equal to 10. Okay. Nice. So let me display now. You got the value as 10. You got my point? So whatever the value, so in this line, what does it mean? A variable of data type int, a variable name called a with the data type int as assigned a value 10. That is what this particular block means. Okay. And this each and every line should end with semicolon. So how do I want to assign multiple values right next to each other? So then you can do b equal to comma. You need to separate with b equal to 20. When you do this, what exactly it means? A of variable type int with value 10, b also of variable type int with value 20. Okay, that's what it means. So if you want to, rather than writing like this again and again, like rather than writing int b equal to 20 and semicolon, if you want to write assign and if you know the values, then you can do like this with semicolon. Okay, same data type can be applied. Okay, now another thing we need to do is uh, what you call operations, right? Switch operation, if else operations, all the stuff we discussed, right? So basically what exactly happens is, in if else conditions, let's write a simple program so that we can understand. So I want to, let's say, comments will be represented like this. Okay, so whatever you mentioned inside this block, Java don't do anything on those lines. Okay, so comments will be represented like this. So whatever you wrote, blah 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 blah, it doesn't worry about it. That considered as just a comment, whatever the logic that you are going to. Okay, I'm going to this logic displays this logic displays first. This logic displays um, odd numbers in first 100. Okay, so this is the comment I wrote. If somebody want to understand what the logic I wrote, they can read this line, they can understand. Okay, certain times. Okay, so how do I display? Let's, don't worry about it. I'm writing it and then I'll explain you what exactly I'm doing. Okay, for int I assigned to 0, I is less than or equal to 100. I want to start with 1, I plus plus. Then if I is divided by 2, I um, result divided by 2, I is divided by 2, it looks right. Assign to 0, then system dot out dot println, this is even number I, else system dot out dot println, this is odd number I. So if I don't end the statement with semicolon, okay, so let's try to run this program. So I got a bunch of results. What did I got? 10. This is the 10 value because I assigned 10 value, and then I lowered 1 to 3. Then it started running. This is an odd number. Oh, this, so this doesn't require, this doesn't first printed. This first it printed this one. And then, so 1 odd number, 1 is odd number. So let me do better understanding, right? Readable as well. Okay. So 1 odd number, 2 is even number, 3 is odd number. So it's displaying correctly. So ideally, what first thing is when I think of writing displaying odd numbers from 1 to 100, what generally we do, we'll take each and every one number. You need to think the logic first, right? What we do, the pseudocode is you need to take each and every number, and then even number is divisible by 2. That is the logic that we know from the maths. And if it is not divisible by 2, then you can consider it as odd number, right? So that's what the logic I wrote. So what I did, instead of doing each and every number and checking, I had I know the Java language, and I know there is a concept called looping with the help of for. Okay, so for what we need to do is, in the for you need to initialize a variable, and there is a condition after that semicolon. There is a condition, whatever the condition you want to. And if you want an increment the initialized variable, or if you want to decrement the initialized variable, whatever the increment decrement operations you want to do, you can do here. Okay, that is how you wrote the for loop. For loop starts with this bracket, and then int initialization. This is initialization, so I has been initialized to 1. And then condition, any condition that you wrote here, what it is, I is less than or equal to 100. This is the operators, arithmetic operators I just showed you, right? Equal to arithmetic operators, less than or equal to conditional operators, and then I plus plus. So what does it mean? This block will be repeated 100 times beginning with 1. And so first I will be initialized with 1, then I will then, so the value here comes with 1, and the condition first it initializes with 1, and it will check 1 is less than or equal to 10. It is true, so the condition become true, so it will go inside. If the condition is true, it will go inside of the block. If it is not true, then it doesn't go at all. So let's say when it will be, let's say I will put -1. Okay, so you never gonna see this report, because what happens for int I equal to 1 and I is less than or equal to -1. So 1 is less than or equal to -1, false. So condition failed there and then itself. So it never going to enter into this block. It's not going to enter into this block at all. Okay. So our aim is to display 100 numbers. So first loop, what happens? First loop, I assign to 1 and condition satisfied, 1 is less than 100. Then it will go to here, 1 divided by 2. It never results to 0. So if conditions will be represented with the equals operation, condition. Inside if condition, you always write these conditions, whatever the conditions that you want to write. Whatever the conditions that you want to write, you will write here. Okay, the conditions always, the result of this block should be true or false. True or false it will be. If it is true, it will go inside the block. If it is false, it doesn't go inside the block. Got my point? So here first time when it comes into, when it enters into this loop, 1 divided by 2 is not going to be 0, so it doesn't go into this block. So if block is not satisfied, it will go to else block. Immediately it will go to default to else block. If you want to condition again here, right, you can write like this, something like that. But for this challenge, whatever displaying odd numbers, you don't need that. So it will default, if it is not an even number, if it is not an even number, it defaults to odd number. So 1 is defaulted to odd number. So again, after this, it needs to execute up to 100 times, right? Because the increment reaches, now 1 will become incremented to 2. Then after increment 2, it will check again condition. 2 is less than. Initialization happens once, and then loop will happens until this condition satisfied. Okay, until this condition satisfies, the loop will continue. Okay, next, let's say I'll do one thing. Like, okay, I just used another keyword called break. What exactly happens, we'll see. It displays only 1 is an odd number, 2 is even number. It doesn't display 3 is odd number. Why? Because, let me explain. For loop will run for 100 times in this flow because of this condition, but if it enters into the first 1 divided by 2, this block not satisfied, so this block satisfied, so it displayed one odd number. Then increment happened, and 2 is less than or equal to 100, condition satisfied, so 2 divisible by 2 equal to 0, so it entered here. So 2 is even number displayed, 2 is even number displayed, and then it saw the keyword called break. So the moment it saw the break, it completely comes out from that loop. It completely comes out from that loop. Okay, you got my point, what I'm saying? So that is the use of break. In order to break any loops like for loop or while loop or do loop, break is used. Okay, so is there any way that I can display the same things? Yes, you can do. Another way of writing is using while loop. For, sorry, while I is less than or equal to I need to first initialize int I equal to something like int x equal to 100, sorry 1. If x is less than or equal to 100, so and then if same condition, whatever the condition we want, I'll repeat the same conditions that we have here. Okay, value is x, right? We're using x here. And I run this program. Oh, sorry. Can do here x plus plus. I'll explain. Don't worry. Give me 1 second. Huh? What's wrong here? While x is less than or equal to 100, do while, right? Do while. Mm, try another way. Don't get confused, okay? Don't worry. Let's clearly. Good. I'm checking. Give me 1 second. Do you guys know? Did you guys anybody able to see what's wrong here? While x less than 100, we are doing only the same thing, right? X is or none. So just display the x. We'll see whether this one executes or not. Okay. What I'm doing is x plus plus. Let's not add too much logic in the beginning. Just take out this piece. So writing simply what we're doing. You're taking x value, initializing the x value with 1, and if it is less than 1, display it and increment it. Yeah, something wrong in that for if condition. We'll write it. Don't worry. So another way of looping is with the while. So how do we while what? How do we do it? While x, whatever the initialized value, whatever the value that you want to condition is, start with is less than whatever the value that you want to repeat, and then increment that x. If what happens while x1 is less than 100, so whatever the logic that you wrote in this block will be executed, which means, okay, as long as the condition next to the while has been satisfied, this block will be executed. And then as you want to repeat it, this condition, if you don't do this right, what happens, the x value is going to be same all the time. Even it keep on running, it will go to infinite loop because the x value never got incremented. So you need to increment such somewhere to satisfy this condition, I mean to break this condition, right? Otherwise it will keep on running. So while some condition, whatever the condition that you want to add, do all your logic here and then increment that value so that it will break, it will come out. Okay. Or else you can do another way, you can do is simply you want to execute only once, Then if it satisfies, break. So it will see only one time it will execute. See, only one first value displayed, initialized value, then it came out. Program start. Okay, this is while. So another one we have is do while. Okay, so do while is as good as while, as good as while, but let me say x is less than 1. Okay, this is one condition. So let's say while executes or not in this case. It doesn't execute, nothing executed, nothing displayed because x is equal to 1, right? X value that we initialized is equal to 1. It is not less than 1. So this condition failed. If the condition fails, what happens? Whatever the block that you wrote inside break statement, inside while statement is not going to execute. So how to if you want to execute that particular scenario also, let's go for do while. So do don't, no matter, no conditions there, just do whatever the statements here, just do only one time. First time blindly do, no conditions. I am saying, I'm not giving you any conditions, just simply do. Okay, so SOS system dot out dot println x. Okay, and then increment it. While here you can keep the condition x is less than 1, semicolon. Okay, see, in this case x is 1, x is less than 1 is false, so it never executed. Here it executes first time and then it checks the condition. 1 is less than 1, true. 1 is less than 1, false. So it never, it stops. You getting my point? So that is the difference. While and do while is nothing but in do while. Let me put some statement here so that you can understand. In do while block. In while block. So the one has been displayed in do while block. So this one will execute no matter what the condition. Condition will comes after one time execution. So what is the difference between while and do while is, do while no matter what, the first time it will execute, but while first checks the condition and then executes. Do while first executes and then check the condition, whatever the expression we wrote inside the while condition. Okay, that is the difference. uh yeah, so these are all the different ways of writing. So I'll, now you got my point, right? Like how to write a simple programs, right? There is no oops concepts. You don't need to understand oops concepts to write these, right? So can you guys do a small favor to me? I'll provide you as part of today's response, and while replying to your email, today's email, I'll mention all the assignments that you guys need to do. Can you guys work on them? So first you need to look at the pseudo code. Let's say I'll ask uh, what do you call display all the Armstrong numbers. What do you need to do? You need to understand what is Armstrong. Go and look for Google and understand the pseudo code. Try to put your efforts to understand, write the pseudo code for that, and then look for the logic. Then what you need to do, write in your own what conditions you can use, whether I can use case statement, whether I can use if statement, whether I can use while statement. Start using those, whatever the arithmetic operations and whatever the control statements that we talked about. Try to use and execute as many programs as you guys can. I'm going to use almost 10 to 12 programs. Put some efforts please. Okay, uh, so that's it for today, and for tomorrow